You know, in the quiet fields of Punjab, some warnings are passed down for a reason. For a young law student named Jaspal, they were just old stories, superstitions. But this is the chilling story of the night a local legend and a really, really foolish prank collided and left a trail of absolute horror in their wake. See, the elders in Jaspal's village had this saying. Basically, don't go into the fields at night or you'll pay a heavy price. To Jaspal, this was just, background noise, a relic from a past he felt he'd outgrown. He had no idea he was about to find out exactly how heavy that price could be. So let's talk about Jaspal. He's a young guy, a law student, home from the city. During the day, he's out there helping his dad, working the same land his family has for generations. But in his head, he's in the modern world, a world of logic and reason, a world that has zero room for old legends. For as long as anyone could remember, people in the village whispered stories about the Khapisi Witch, a witch that stalked the fields. And Jaspal's father? He was a true believer. Whenever they'd find a mangled animal carcass out in the crops, he didn't see a wild animal. Oh no, he saw the witch's handiwork. To him, this legend was a very real threat. And you can imagine this created a huge rift between them. For Jaspal, the answer was obvious. It's a wolf, maybe a leopard. Simple. But his father's fear came from somewhere much, much older. He looked at his son's modern logic not as being smart, but as being dangerously naive. One night, Jaspal just casually mentioned, hey, maybe I'll stand guard tonight and prove it's just an animal. Well, his father's reaction was nothing short of explosive. He screamed these exact words at him. Don't you dare go towards the fields at night. This wasn't a debate. It was a command, and you could hear the genuine terror in his voice. For him, this was life and death. All right, so the story takes a sharp turn on one particular night. Jaspal's in bed, he can't sleep, the house is completely silent, and then his phone buzzes. It's an unknown number. That one call was about to change absolutely everything. Okay, to understand why Jaspal does what he does next, you have to know about Goody. She was his cousin's sister-in-law, and Jaspal had fallen for her hard during a family visit. He was even planning to propose, but she moved away before he got the chance. To him, she was totally the one that got away. So he picks up the phone. There's a bit of silence, then a quiet girl's voice says she's Goody. She tells him she's back, but just for one night, and she wants to meet him, right now, by the old well near the fields. Well, his heart starts racing. All logic goes out the window, and he says yes without a second thought. He grabs some sandals and just slips out into the night. So as Jaspal starts walking towards this well, that initial thrill of seeing Goody again, it starts to sour. It turns into this quiet, creeping dread. The same fields he knew so well by day felt completely different, totally alien under the moonlight. The very first thing that hits him is the silence. And I mean, it's an unnatural, heavy quiet that just feels like it's pressing in on him. No crickets, no wind rustling the crops, nothing. Just this oppressive stillness that makes his father's warning echo in his head. And then, that silence is shattered. From deep inside the tall crops off to his right, there's this weird rustling sound. It wasn't the sound of any animal he knew. It was just strange, unsettling. It was enough to make him freeze right where he stood. But he shakes it off, right? He keeps going to the well. And there she is, the silhouette of a girl. He thinks it's gotta be Goody. But as he starts walking faster, the figure turns and walks right into those tall, dark crops, exactly where that weird noise came from. All rational thought is gone. He just wants to get to her, so he calls out her name and follows her right in. Once he's inside the crops, it's dense, it's dark, it's hard to move. He can see the figure up ahead. He can see she's wearing a traditional dress, her long hair is loose. He calls out again, asking where she's going, but she doesn't answer. She just keeps leading him deeper and deeper in, until finally, she stops. And what he sees next just shatters his entire world. Because at the feet of the person he thought was Goody, he sees them, two human bodies, lying face down, groaning in pools of their own blood. In that 1 second, his mind is just screaming, this is not Goody. He's walked straight into a nightmare, and it is way too late to get out. He somehow manages to stammer out, Who are you?" The figure turns around, slowly. And its face, it's this waxy, pale white. It has these tiny, beady eyes with no eyebrows above them. And its mouth, it wasn't a mouth. It was just a round, gaping hole lined with razor-sharp teeth dripping with fresh blood. He was standing face to face with the Khapisi Witch. While the terror finally breaks his paralysis, he turns to run, but he trips and falls, and that thing is on him in a flash. It grabs his right foot, and this searing, unbelievable pain shoots up his leg as it starts chewing off his toes. In a pure surge of adrenaline, he kicks it, square in its horrifying face, and just scrambles away, running for his life into the darkness. Jaspal honestly doesn't even remember how he got home, just that he was running and screaming. But when the sun came up and the village woke up, the full tragic truth of that night started to come out. And somehow, it was even worse than any folktale. And this is the question that changes everything. That voice on the phone, that's what started this whole nightmare. So if it wasn't Goody, and it wasn't some mythical witch making a phone call, then who was it? The answer is just gut-wrenching. It was a prank, a horribly, horribly thought-out prank. Two local boys, Suki and Bunty, they knew Jaspal had a huge crush on Goody, so they decided it would be hilarious to use her name to lure him into the fields for a scare. The two groaning bodies Jaspal saw, those were his friends. They had stumbled into the very real danger they were planning to use as a joke. The final cost of that one joke was just devastating. The pranksters, Suki and Bunty, were found dead in the fields the next morning, killed by the very predator they thought was just a story. And Jaspal, the guy they were trying to scare, was left permanently maimed, with a physical scar to remind him of their fatal mistake. In the end, Jaspal came to this really chilling conclusion. He said the legend of the Khapisi was like having a rabid dog roaming the village. You don't see it every day, and it doesn't bite everybody, but you always know the danger is out there, and one day, it will bite someone. Whether it was an actual witch or just a wild animal, the danger his father warned him about, it was absolutely real. And that kind of leaves us with this final, unsettling thought. In Jaspal's story, a stupid prank, an old legend, and a very real, unseen predator all came together with tragic results. It really makes you wonder, how many other local legends and old warnings do we dismiss as just stories when they might actually be trying to warn us about a very real and very patient danger?